You ever notice how people only start believing in miracles when their money's gone? Funny, isn't it? They pray harder, talk sweeter, promise they'll change if anything, just shows up in that account. They think blessings only come wrapped in dollar signs, but they forget something. Sometimes the shock isn't in the money. It's in the moment right before it. That point where everything looks empty, hopeless, finished. And then, out of nowhere, everything shifts. It's not luck. It's not magic. It's timing. It's like the universe was just waiting for you to stop pretending you were in control before it reminded you who really runs the show. Scarcity exposes real faith. It's easy to talk about trust when everything's full. Your pockets, your plans, your confidence. Everyone believes when the numbers look good, when the bills are paid, when the world's nodding along like everything's under control. But the moment that balance drops, the moment the account runs dry and the noise of security fades, that's when faith starts to shake. That's when people start to realize they never really had faith. They just had comfort. Comfort looks a lot like faith when life's going well. But take away the cushion, take away the backup plan, and suddenly you find out what you actually believe. You ever notice how money makes people feel invincible? They think they're protected, untouchable, like the world has to listen to them because they've got something to lose. But when it's gone, when there's nothing left but the echo of your own panic, that's when the mask falls off. That's when you meet the real version of yourself. The one that can't buy their way out, can't charm their way through, can't hide behind stability. Scarcity doesn't ruin you. It reveals you. It shows what's left when the noise fades, when there's no audience, no safety net, just you and the quiet. People love to say they trust something bigger, but they only whisper that until the numbers start bleeding red. Then it's panic, anxiety, desperation. They forget everything they claim to believe, because now the faith costs something. That's the thing about scarcity. It's the great liar detector. It separates talk from truth, because anyone can say, "I believe," when their fridge is full and their bills are paid. But can you say it when it's empty? Can you still stand when everything else has fallen apart? That's where faith stops being a word and starts being a weapon. Not the kind that fights the world, but the kind that fights fear. Scarcity breaks the illusion of control. It reminds you how fragile your little systems are, how easily everything can slip through your fingers. And that's terrifying, isn't it? Because humans build their confidence on numbers, not on trust, on savings, not on surrender. But when scarcity hits, it takes all that away, and suddenly you have nothing left but what's real. You either crumble or you wake up. You either chase what's gone or you realize that maybe, just maybe, what's coming is bigger than what you lost. Scarcity forces you to choose what kind of believer you really are. The kind that only believes when it's convenient, or the kind that believes when it's chaos. You know what's funny? Scarcity talks louder than abundance ever could. When you have everything, you don't listen. You don't reflect. You don't grow. But when you have nothing, every sound matters. Every lesson hits harder. Every tiny win feels like a miracle. It humbles you, and in that humility, faith becomes real. You stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "What now?" You stop trying to manipulate the outcome and start trusting the process. Scarcity strips you of ego, pride, and the illusion that you're in charge. It leaves you with only one thing left to stand on: belief. And that's the rawest kind of strength there is. People think scarcity is punishment. It's not. It's preparation. It's pressure training for your soul. You can't appreciate provision until you've survived the drought. You can't handle abundance until you've learned how to breathe without it. Because when you've gone through the storm of lack and still kept your sanity, still kept your focus, still believed when logic told you not to, that's when faith becomes unshakable. That's when you stop chasing money like a god and start realizing that maybe the lack was never the problem. Maybe the problem was that you thought money was the answer. Scarcity teaches you to detach, to remember that faith was supposed to be the foundation, not the fallback. It's wild how scarcity rewires you. It changes how you see everything. Suddenly, the smallest blessings start to look massive. The food on the table, the roof over your head, the fact that you woke up today, it all feels heavier, richer, realer. Because when you've lived through days where even the basics were uncertain, gratitude hits different. You stop waiting for something big to happen to feel blessed. You realize that faith doesn't grow in abundance. It's built in survival. Scarcity trains you to stop measuring your life in numbers and start measuring it in trust. And it's strange, isn't it? How once you've walked through real lack, you stop fearing it. You stop letting it control you. You understand that scarcity isn't the end. It's the test. It's the moment life looks you dead in the eye and says, "Show me what you really believe." It's uncomfortable, yes. It's messy, it's humiliating, it's hard. But it's also the most honest mirror you'll ever face. Because in scarcity, there's no pretending. You can't fake faith when you've got nothing to fall back on. You either trust or you collapse. And if you survive it, know, when you survive it, you come out different. You come out quieter, stronger, sharper. You come out knowing that faith isn't about the promise of abundance. It's about standing tall in the absence of it. Timing tests before it rewards. Everyone wants the blessing, but no one wants to wait for it. They want it now, on their schedule, wrapped in convenience. They treat timing like a malfunction. Like if something doesn't happen when they expect it, it must be broken. But timing isn't broken, you are. Impatient, restless, addicted to control. You think delay means denial. But sometimes the delay is the only reason you'll be able to handle what's coming. Timing isn't punishing you. It's preparing you. It's sharpening your patience, burning off your pride, breaking down the part of you that thinks you can demand destiny like it's customer service. You ever notice how, when things don't happen fast enough, people start losing faith? They think silence means rejection. They think waiting means forgotten. But timing's not ignoring you. It's studying you. It's watching how you move when no one's clapping. How you think when the noise fades. How you react when nothing's happening. That's the test. Because anyone can believe when the signs are clear. Anyone can praise when the door opens. But when it doesn't, when every effort fails, when every prayer feels unanswered, that's when timing's taking notes. It's not seeing if you can start strong. It's seeing if you can stay standing when nothing moves. People say, trust the process, but they never really mean it. What they mean is, trust the process if it works quickly. They want the lesson without the waiting. They want the promise without the preparation. But the truth is, timing exposes who you are when there's nothing left to get. Waiting peels back layers you didn't even know existed. It forces you to face your own impatience, your own ego, your own obsession with control. It's not the delay that hurts. It's what it reveals. The truth that maybe you don't actually trust, you just like the illusion of progress. Timing is a silent teacher. It doesn't explain itself. It doesn't give hints. It lets you stew, wonder, question, doubt. It lets you wrestle with uncertainty until your desperation turns into discipline. It's cruel. In a way, watching people pace back and forth, checking their metaphorical clock, begging for answers that don't come. But it's necessary. Because if you got everything the moment you wanted it, you'd destroy it. You wouldn't be ready for it. You'd mishandle it, waste it, break it. Timing isn't just about when you get it. It's about who you are when you do. You think time's your enemy because you can't control it, but it's the only thing keeping you from self-destruction. It stretches you just far enough to break what's weak, but not what's essential. Every delay, every rejection, every door that stays closed, it's timing saying, not yet. Not as punishment, but as protection. Because there's a version of you that still needs to die before the blessing arrives. A version that's too careless, too impulsive, too blind to hold something that real. Timing kills that version slowly. It starves it of shortcuts. It makes you uncomfortable enough to evolve. That's what it means to be tested before being trusted. You ever think about how gold is refined? It's burned, melted, stripped of impurities until all that's left is the pure core. That's what timing does. It burns you clean. Every moment of frustration, every unanswered question, it's part of the fire. You don't see it now. But you're being shaped into someone who won't crumble when the blessing hits. Timing doesn't just want you to receive it. It wants you to keep it. And that requires patience that can't be faked. People call waiting a waste of time. No, waiting is the work. It's where you build endurance, perspective, resilience. It's where you learn that peace isn't about having everything. It's about trusting even when you have nothing. Because here's the secret, what's meant for you doesn't vanish during the wait. It matures. It grows, and so do you. Timing isn't late, it's aligning. It's orchestrating details you can't see, people you haven't met, opportunities that haven't yet existed. You think it's standing still, but behind the curtain, it's chaos turning into order. The test of timing is silence. The hardest part isn't the wait itself. It's the uncertainty. It's waking up every day not knowing when the change will come, but choosing to keep moving anyway. That's real faith. Not the kind that needs proof, but the kind that breathes without evidence. Timing's testing your endurance, your consistency, your character. Because blessings aren't fragile, they're heavy. And you don't hand something heavy to someone who hasn't learned how to carry it. People love to say, everything happens for a reason. But they hate the part where they have to sit in the reasonless stretch of waiting. That in, between where you can't see the plan, but you have to keep believing there is one. That's where most people quit. But timing doesn't bend for quitters. It waits until you've stopped trying to force it, until you stop needing control, until you stop begging for what's next and start mastering what's now. Because that's when you're finally ready. You can't rush what's divine. You can't speed up what's sacred. The reward doesn't come when you want it. It comes when you've proven you won't ruin it. Timing's not cruel. It's careful. It's deliberate. It's patient enough to let you break just enough to learn, but not enough to be lost. And when it finally rewards you, you realize it wasn't withholding anything. It was protecting everything. Detachment attracts abundance. People chase what they think they need like addicts chasing their next fix. They cling to outcomes, gripping so tight they strangle the very thing they want. They pray, they hustle, they plan, but underneath all that effort is desperation. And desperation, it smells. The universe consents when you're begging for control. It knows when your faith isn't real. It's just fear wearing a mask. The tighter you hold on, the further it slips. That's the cruel irony. You lose what you worship because you can't let it breathe. You ever notice how the moment you stop obsessing, things start working out? The call comes, the door opens, the money shows up. Not because you did something new, but because you finally stopped suffocating the outcome. That's detachment. It's not about not caring. It's about not needing. It's about knowing that what's meant for you won't pass you by, even if your hands are empty. It's about being okay if it comes and okay if it doesn't. That kind of peace confuses people. They call it apathy. It's not. It's power. Because when you stop chasing, you start attracting. People think detachment is weakness. They think if you don't chase it, you don't want it. But it's the opposite. Detachment takes strength. It takes knowing your worth so deeply that you don't have to beg for what's already aligned with you. It's standing in the storm with calm eyes while everyone else panics. Because you understand something they don't. You can't lose what's yours, and you can't force what's not. Everything that's meant to come will come when it's ready, not when you are. And if you try to drag it in early, it'll break in your hands. That's the funny thing about abundance. It doesn't follow need, it follows energy. When you act out of lack, you attract more lack. When you act out of confidence, when you move like you already have enough, life matches that rhythm. It mirrors your mindset. You can't fake it either. You can say the words, repeat the affirmations, act unbothered. But if you're still clenching your fists in fear, it shows. The energy doesn't lie. Detachment isn't pretending not to care. It's genuinely understanding that everything you need already belongs to you in time. You just have to stop trying to control when and how it arrives. You know what kills abundance faster than anything? Anxiety. That constant checking, worrying, doubting, asking when, asking how. You think you're preparing, but really you're blocking it. You're filling your space with noise, and abundance doesn't shout. It whispers. It needs silence to enter. It needs trust to move. That's why detachment is magnetic. It clears the static. It makes room for blessings to land. You're not begging the universe. You're meeting it halfway. And that's where everything starts to change. Imagine a hand reaching into water. The harder you try to grab what's floating, the more ripples you make, and the further it moves away. But if you stay still, if you calm the surface, it drifts right back to you. That's how life works. That's how blessings flow. Stillness invites. Control repulse. People don't get that because they confuse activity with progress. They think if they're not doing something, they're failing. But sometimes doing nothing, just breathing, just trusting, is the most powerful move you can make. Detachment doesn't mean giving up. It means giving space. Space for timing to align, space for things to evolve, space for you to grow into what you're asking for. Sometimes the thing you want isn't ready, and sometimes you're not ready. Detachment lets both sides catch up. It says, I trust this enough to not force it. And when you reach that place, where you don't chase, you don't beg, you just prepare, the energy around you changes. Things start moving toward you instead of away from you. You can always tell when someone's detached by the way they carry themselves. They don't rush. They don't over-explain. They don't panic when something slips away, because they know what leaves was never anchored, and what's real doesn't run. They move like someone who's already rich inside, because abundance isn't money or fame or validation. It's peace. It's freedom from need. When you have that, everything else becomes a bonus, not a requirement. People are terrified of letting go because they think letting go means losing control. But you never had control. That's the joke. You were just holding an illusion so tight you started mistaking it for reality. Detachment shatters that illusion. It forces you to see that the more you try to manage life, the more it manages you. Letting go isn't weakness. It's surrender, not to defeat, but to alignment. It's saying, I don't need to know how this ends. I just trust it's going somewhere. And that's when abundance starts walking your way. When you stop begging for things, life starts offering them. When you stop chasing validation, people start noticing you. When you stop checking the door, it finally knocks. That's the rhythm of detachment. It's not about killing desire. It's about mastering it. Want deeply, but don't cling. Expect blessings, but don't demand them. Let things flow, not force them. Because when you're at peace without it, that's when the universe finally says, "No, you're ready for it." Gratitude opens unseen doors. People spend their lives chasing what they don't have, crying about what went wrong, comparing their misery to someone else's highlight reel. They wake up every day counting what's missing, and they wonder why life keeps taking more. They treat blessings like background noise, so familiar they forget to hear them. The air in their lungs, the roof over their heads, the food on their table, it's all there. And yet they walk around like the universe owes them something. Gratitude isn't about saying, "Thank you," when things go right. It's about seeing the miracle in things you take for granted. You ever notice how people's energy changes when they finally lose something they never appreciated? That moment when comfort is gone, when peace is disrupted, when someone they love disappears. Suddenly, they remember how good they had it. Suddenly, the ordinary looks sacred. That's gratitude's cruel trick. It often shows up after loss. But the real ones, the ones who learn early, they don't wait for pain to remind them what matters. They train their eyes to see beauty before it breaks. They don't need the world to fall apart to recognize how much they've already been given. Gratitude is a key, not a reaction. It doesn't just make you feel good, it shifts your reality. Because when you start appreciating what you already have, you stop vibrating in lack. You stop living in, "I need," and start living in, "I have." And when your focus moves from scarcity to abundance, life mirrors it. Opportunities start appearing. People start aligning. Things you never noticed begin working in your favor. Gratitude doesn't bring magic, it reveals it. It tunes your mind to notice doors you used to walk past every day. People think gratitude is soft, weak, naive. They think it's some cheesy affirmation, whispered by people afraid of reality. But gratitude isn't delusion, it's awareness. It's looking straight at the mess and saying, "Even here, something's working." It's not pretending everything's perfect. It's refusing to let what's broken blind you to what's still whole. That kind of mindset builds armor. You can't be easily shaken when you're grounded in thankfulness, because you're not chasing peace, you're carrying it. Most people don't realize how gratitude rewires the brain. You keep focusing on what's wrong. Your mind gets trained to hunt for pain. You wake up expecting disappointment, and the world delivers right on time. But when you start naming what's right, out loud, daily, you break that pattern. You start noticing the subtle wins, the small moments, the stuff that used to go unnoticed. Gratitude doesn't change your situation immediately, but it changes your vision instantly. And sometimes that's all it takes for everything else to follow. The ones who complain the loudest are usually the ones ignoring the most blessings. They want more but can't handle less. They want wealth but treat what they have like trash. Gratitude is the test before abundance. Because if you're ungrateful for the little, you'll be reckless with the lot. The universe doesn't trust people who only say thank you after the deposit clears. It watches how you react when the account's empty, when the plan collapses, when silence stretches longer than expected. If you can stay thankful in that place, sincerely thankful, that's when doors open no one else can see. You know what gratitude really is. Perspective. It's a choice to find gold in dirt, light in the dark, lessons in the loss. It's standing in the storm and saying, I may not like it, but I'll grow from it. And the moment you do that, the storm starts to change. Not because the wind stops, but because you stop fighting it. Gratitude teaches surrender, not the weak kind, the wise kind. It reminds you that even chaos carries purpose. That every closed door might have been protection. That every delay might have saved you from destruction. Gratitude makes you trust timing instead of cursing it. You can fake confidence. You can fake kindness. But you can't fake gratitude. It either lives in your bones or it doesn't. You can say the words, but if you still see lack everywhere you look, you haven't learned it yet. Real gratitude humbles you. It strips away entitlement, kills comparison, silences jealousy. It turns why me into thank you. And the moment that shift happens, you start seeing life differently. Not because life changed, but because you finally did. When you practice gratitude long enough, something strange happens. Doors start opening that logic can't explain. The call comes out of nowhere. The opportunity finds you. The right people show up. You begin to realize it's not coincidence. It's alignment. Gratitude creates alignment. It puts you in the same frequency as abundance, because both come from appreciation, not desperation. You don't chase blessings anymore, you attract them. Because gratitude tells the universe, I see what you've done. And the universe responds, then you're ready for more. People think success is about strategy, hustle, timing. They forget the foundation, gratitude. Without it, everything you get feels empty. You can fill your pockets and still feel poor. But when you master gratitude, even a little feels like plenty. You stop begging for miracles and start realizing you're standing in one. And when that truth hits, the doors you couldn't force open before, they start swinging by themselves.